Hello, everybody. Welcome to a segment of Real Talk Cafe. I got here a good friend of mine, Nate. We work together, and just in passing, we always have conversations. And I just thought it would be fitting for us to record these and share them with others. So, with further ado, I'll pass it to Nate.
Yeah, man. Thanks for inviting me to this.
Mhm.
A lot of times in your content, you talk about hope and encouragement. I feel like that's been really big in my life right now. Just finding hope. We feels like we live in this like broken kind of time. And feel like every generation there's something broken, and but the world today seems pretty divided. So yeah. So I have a couple different thoughts on hope, and as a standard millennial, I'm tied to my phone. So, so when I think about hope, I think about hope is often found through people, right? And I think when you can find hope, it's often like a fire that's inside you, right? Like those that are the most passionate people you can find often are hope inspiring, you know? And so when you find a person with passion, or if you're a person with passion, or you're trying to spread the word of God on what's like on a tangible level, how can you capture that inner fire and use it effectively, right? And I often think hope and encouragement kind of go hand in hand, because encouragement is basically our superpower sometimes, when we can encourage other people. And I find that really true in my life. I'm sure it's the same in yours.
Yeah, because it's almost like you have to make a conscious decision to want to change. But first of all, you have to be aware of change. Like the Bible says, Jesus came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. And I don't think a lot of people is really aware or really even know anybody that's, encouraging to the point to where you not only just come to Christ, but you continually to grow in Christ.
Right.
And therefore you become anchored in the Lord. And a lot of people say, for God I live, for God I die. And so it's like, it's a lifestyle, not just something that you just come to one day.
Exactly, it's a practice.
Yeah.
Encouragement is a practice to help people. And that ties into, I think, people's life stories about overcoming relatable challenges. It inspires people. Like the things we go through and the things we share. And oftentimes as Americans, it feels like you can't tell people your problems. You can't tell that there's that division between us, and there's this idea that we have everything's fine. Oh, how was your day? Good. How's your day? Good. Move along. And we sometimes, some people can do it better than others. That's the truth. But it's through that, through sharing our stories, through sharing what we're going through with each other. That's how you can encourage, and that's a practice. And I feel like hope. Not only can it spark you to encourage their life, but also within your own life to keep that practice. And in a lot of your videos, you talk about like no limits and the power of Kingdom God. And so that makes me think, what is the opposite of hope? It's fear, it's anxiety, it's uncertainty. People call it all different things for fear. And I think when we put limits on ourselves, you think you can't reach a goal, you're not good enough. That's often we let ourselves like tear us down. And sometimes the biggest fears are problems outside of our control. It's too big for us. A lot of catchphrases, climate change, vaccine stuff, all this, it's all too big.
Yeah.
But it's it feels too much for a big person, one person to solve. But in reality, as a group, if we all work together, we could solve a thing. So hope is knowing you'll always have the chance to make a step toward the better. And hope, when you're filled with hope, it's not something that you can like feel, but you can. It like changes your perspective on your day. There's times where you felt hopeless or full of hope, or
even with hope, sometimes you're gonna feel hopeless, because it's like that's where the enemy comes in, and like the Bible says, come to steal, kill, and destroy. So that's why, like Peter said, we must be vigilant because the enemy prowls around as a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. And also, when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness, it said at the end, when Satan left, after Jesus, shut him down with the word and let him know, look, for God I live, for God I die, and there's hope in what I'm doing, and I believe in what I'm doing because I know what I'm doing and I know what I came to do. But at the end it says, the enemy left Jesus at that time for an opportune time. So in those moments that we feel hopeless, that's considered an opportune time. So that's why we must be vigilant to not allow ourselves to be caught up in a hopeless moment, even though things happen.
Yeah. So it's kind of like don't fall into the lie that your hopes, your goals, your salvation, is never going to happen, because every day is like a new day. Yeah.
Yep. And with that, I was a mailman in Lansing. This was years back, and I remember just sitting there in the truck, taking a break, and I saw this bird. He was pecking up under the, on the curve, and they had brush up under there, and he'd move the brush over and get worms or bugs or something. So it's like, who told him that stuff was there? So this is an animal like the Bible says. God, he feeds the birds, and he takes care of the lilies of the valleys. So it's like in there, that was hope for me. It's like, here, if this is a bird getting his needs met, how much more will God do for me as being an individual and housing his spirit? Not saying the bird doesn't have the spirit,
right?
So when we house his spirit, that's like Peter said, we should always have a reason of the hope that we have, and not so much in talking, but more so in action, just being an example in our everyday lives of hope, because you don't never know who's watching you. That's seeking hope, but there's so many people in position to give us hope, but they need hope, and like you said, they're uncertain. So it's like, I'm coming to a church to get help,
right? But
the man up there needs more help than me. Once you not only have hope, but you allow yourself to dig deep within yourself and admit that you have issues, like you was talking about. Because we all went through some type of dysfunction or abuse, whether it be sexual, mentally, or physically.
Yeah.
And so these are the things that's, when we hide that, we're not giving nobody hope.
Right.
Because freedom is a thing that you can't explain. It's something that you have to have within you and indulge in before you can exemplify that.
Yeah. And, in a time with social media, those things, you see the highlights of people's lives, and that can often create a false sense of like their happiness, and like on a tangible level, we want, like, we read the Bible and we want to believe that, like, God feeds the birds. We should just live in the day and have hope that he'll take care of us. But for some people, that's a hard thing to say, we want to believe it, but we need these examples of hope to like let it soak in almost, I think that's a big part. And I feel like the words we say to people are really powerful, right? Like, we lived in this polarized time where everything is dividing us, our beliefs, our skin color, our voting habits. Like, there are so many things that the world's gaining traction on to divide us. And, as a society, we're getting armed with all these catchphrases, misleading data, just all these different things for us to regurgitate that in our reality, it only deepens us into the camps like we allow the world to put us in. So, like, you're part of this group, you're part of this group, you're part of this group, believe this way, and that's where you should be. And a lot of the division boils down to speech and action. It's the things we say towards each other that make the biggest, strife. And so kind of like my challenge then, if those words are so big now, what about the words you say to yourself? Those words must have power too, right? Do you destroy and divide yourself? Do you say things that crush your hope and live in fear? Self-image is self-concept. And so when you take steps to heal yourself, you're going to be better equipped to help heal others. And healing yourself can be tons of different things. Therapy, talking to people, building bridges between others, going outside your comfort zone can feel hard sometimes, but we have generations between us, and as men, we're the stereotype is you're not supposed to show emotion, but now society says, okay, man, you should show emotion, but that can be a hard thing to unravel for folks that are older. So asking for that kind of help and those things, that's one of the toughest things. But if you can't heal yourself, it's going to be pretty hard, I think, to heal others. I think you can do it, and I bet some people will do it well that are broken and heal others. But yeah, that's my big advice, is to talk about your problems, to talk about your hopes and your goals with people. When it's not just how are you doing? Good. How are you doing? Good. Move along. You tell people about your day, your life, your hopes, your goals. They might be able to, have insight, have encouragement. And I feel like finding hope is finding peace. And we're all trying to find this level of this fear-driven world to find peace. And, at the end of the day, we want to turn to Jesus, turn to God. But I think for a lot of broken folks, they need to see a more tangible and more real thing right in front of them, like people, their stories, those things. And yeah.
Yeah, because, by me doing prison ministry for 16 years, I've taught many messages, but one of the greatest messages I ever taught wasn't a word spoken. We just cried. Wow. Grown men, because I know you had spoke about, share your problems with other people, but you got to be careful, make sure it's the right person, because somebody might take that as being weak and laugh at you. But if you cry with the right, share your, inner thoughts, with the right person, they're going to cry with you. And that's going to provide a whole nother level of healing and hope. It's like, wow, he understands me.
Sure.
So evidently he went through the proper steps and precautions to become healed. But before we can become healed, we must identify what hurts and then address the issue, like with people with mechanics. They had the negative and the positive, so they could troubleshoot the issue. But we, like you said, in my generation, we've been taught just to be quiet and not talk about stuff. And so it's like your generation is like a whole nother level of whatever. And so that's why it's so important for us to identify somebody that can help us, like the Bible. It's not the Bible, but I always heard the Bible does say, go into all the world and preach the gospel. But I like to say, go into all the world and live the gospel. And I heard something said too, preach the word at all times, and if possible, use words. So it's more what you do that will exemplify healing, because somebody that's hurt can identify with somebody that's hurt.
Sure.
But somebody that's hurt and wants to be healed can identify with somebody that's healed. So,
And with that said, like a lot of times people fall back to their old ways, and Jesus says, give them grace. And that can look really hard. If you got someone in your family that keeps falling into a life they shouldn't live, but they fall back and accept them back in, and that's a hard spot to be sometimes, like with your family, is doing things you might not agree with, and how to reconcile that and give them grace again. And sometimes tough love is maybe not letting them back in right away until you see some growth, you see a plan of change. And I think that's different based on every situation, every person. And a big thing too, I think, when we share our problems, I think in America we're very competitive. So, you got your problem? My problem's worse. Whatever. And we have a real difference between you and me, right? You're black and I'm white. If we try to share our problems, they might look very different, but it's important to try and even though another person's problem might seem smaller, it's big to them, and it's hard to not compare, right? Like if somebody comes to you and they're sharing their problem, and you listen to it, and then your life is way worse, I imagine that's pretty hard to sympathize with them, right? You know what I mean? So yeah, and I think that's always where we challenge ourselves. Like, maybe I should put my stuff aside, help this person, because God calls us to love our neighbors, and the world calls us to divide with our neighbors. So.
Wow, because I always like to say I feel at peace when meeting the needs of others. Because
Okay.
when you have that hope, it's almost like you put, like you said, put yourself aside because this person is in need.
Yeah, man.
So you recognize the God that's inside you, like I said, go into all the earth and not preach the gospel too, but live the gospel. That's what Jesus did. You know, all the people and things that was coming at him, he stayed focused. You know, like he said, the Bible said, don't look to the right or to the left, but keep your gaze straight ahead.
Okay.
And so as a person that's in position to help others, you have to, you know, set yourself aside.
Yeah.
So therefore you can be in a position not only to help people, but help them. So that's the issue right there. We got a lot of people that's in position, but actually need more help than us. And so that's what happens with the world when, we come to church and ignorantly we put our trust in man by thinking this is, God's chosen man.
Okay, yeah.
And so a lot of times we can be led astray and turn out worse off than we were before we even came. And now, because we're trying to match up to this imperfect man,
Okay. Yeah.
And so we looking at him pass himself off as somebody that don't make mistakes. If you got to go to the wrong church, that because it happened to me. But you looking at him and he's passing himself off as somebody that don't make mistakes. And then you still make mistakes, not knowing that it's a process.
Right.
Because a lot of churches only teach what they've been taught.
Okay. Yeah.
And so a lot of people just been taught by the book. It's like you got a lot of people that go to school and not knocking nobody for going to, seminary and none of that stuff.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you're not partaking of the spiritual things, you're not doing nothing. Just like the Pharisees and teachers of the law said to Jesus, how did he get so much learning without being taught? By their standards. But he said, I can only do what I seen my Father do.
Well said. Yeah.
So God is, what the Bible say, with God, all things are possible. Healing, and for you to embrace hope and encouragement, because once you start really walking uprightly before God and man, I didn't say perfect, people, they will automatically see, like, wow, this just like me and you, we met, by, you doing something to my phone and giving me the internet, and stuff like that. But we identified something in each other. That's why we're sitting here right now.
Yeah.
But I just want to ask you one question.
Sure.
What brought you to want to speak on hope? Was there something that, you may have suffered a while ago, or something that you're dealing with that you haven't let go of?
Sure, man. Yeah, it is purely driven, and we live in this COVID world, and a lot of people are living in fear and anxiety. A lot of people in my friend group, my family, just all around. I see a lot of this. They're told to be afraid, and I think if we can, there's a very real truth with what's going on in the world, but also if you tell yourself every day, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna get better, or what is a goal I can work on? I think that is like the opposite of what the world is telling everyone they should feel like. And so that's been like the opposite of all of that is hope. That's what it comes back to me. And just, I ask people, what's bringing you happiness nowadays, to try and talk about like the good things opposed to the latest COVID update, So I think that's a big part of the hope. And then on the flip side, I got this 10-month little baby, and he's been it's happiness and joy. He's given me my long-term joy, but my short-term happiness, and that fills me with hope too. Like seeing that, and just as he grows, and he's climbing the stairs, he's walking, he's doing all that, and it's unrelated to all these other anxieties and fears, but that's been hope, having a kid, and yeah.
One thing I recognize as, being a father, my daughter's probably older than you. She's about to be 29. But if we're not careful, we can carry on generational curses,
Okay, yeah.
Of things that we may have suffered as a child, because
Sure.
it's always in the back of our mind, no matter what we do and how successful we are and how beautiful our family is or how much money we have. But it's an old song by, I think, Tears for Fears, and it says, always something there to remind me. It always seemed to be something in the past that won't allow me to last and move forward. And it's not a black or white thing, because I think I really don't like talk about this stuff, but racism, it starts with people that's unhappy within themselves and they're looking for somebody to blame versus just addressing the issue with the abuser.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's like we pass it off like, oh, there's somebody black. And, it goes back to what you're saying. My problems may be not as big as your problem.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my problem may be even more than your issue. Versus,
Sure.
this is another thing, we do. Well, man, I ain't dealing with what Nate dealing with, so I'm okay. We just have that false sense of, lying to ourselves, because that's what we live in a society.
Right.
And, especially my age, it's always was taught, don't speak up for what's right. Especially if this is a person, somebody older. And it's like, if they're wrong, they're wrong. But no, you don't say nothing. And so that's what's wrong with a lot of, generations that come after the generation like me, And so it's like the world is just filled with a bunch of unhappy people that's afraid to address and honor the truth. Because when we start getting down to this dysfunction and abuse, that's what's really going to awake us up as people, no matter what color we are. Because, white or black, we all had some abusive fathers, abusive mothers, or, maybe a family member touched us or something. We all went through that, so it's not a white or black thing.
Right, exactly.
It's a people thing, and there's people out here searching for hope. So
and that goes back to search for healing. If you know you got problems, talk to people about it. When my son was born, I went through a big period where I was remembering a lot of my past, a lot of trauma, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of just a lot of bad stories, a lot of getting locked in my room, getting abused, different things. And so though that kind of spurred up when my son was born, and so I knew I had to make a big change, like right then. And I growing up and going into adulthood, like I had my past, and I kind of, I dealt with it, I pushed it down, I didn't seek therapy, I told my past to my wife, and we worked through that. But I kind of let it sit. But then when my son was born, that all came back. Like you're reading a kid's book that you remember when you were a kid, and the thoughts come back up again. So I knew like I had to make a change really quick. So that's why I went to therapy and talked to people, and that there are skills you can do, things you can do that can help resolve and get past that. And so yeah,
that's heavy, man, because it's like, when you dealing with so much, and then now you got this newborn baby, and I'm pretty sure in your mind you was like, man, I don't want my son to grow up like I did. It's like, what can I do, and who can I talk to?
Right.
Because it's like I said, with I have an educational background in psychology, so when I first was going, because I was working at this Christian center working with teenage girls with sexual behavior issues, so we had to have like so many credit hours a year. And I was terrible when I first got out of there, because everybody I talked to was like, okay, they're suffering with this and this and that. So like, man, let me just have a decent conversation with people.
So it wore on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I recognize, therapists, counselors, and they need more help than they need. I know that's not a word. They need therapizing and counseling. Because a lot of people, they try to escape what really went on with them by passing it off, helping other people.
Okay. Yeah.
And so really they end up bleeding on these people as well. So here I am coming to the therapist to get help, and I'm, the enemy is sneaking some other stuff in there on me. So
Okay.
now I'm carrying more than I meant to come lay down. And so that's why it's so important to have and to operate in the Spirit of God. So therefore you would know,
Yeah.
you know, and have some type of sense of like, oh, okay, well, wait a minute, this person is, you know, chemically imbalanced mentally, you know. But yeah, I like that, man, that you addressed the simple fact, you identified and addressed the fact that, you know, that you needed to do something about those triggers, because those triggers can take you down a dark road.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Okay.
put you in a place that where you really might not even want to leave. You just want to, you know, sometimes you just want to just sit there and just stay there. You know, no matter how much hope you have. Like I said, I May 6th marks the year that I was in Christ 16 years. And so before that happened, I had something happen to me, and I didn't want to pray. I didn't want to think. I didn't want to do nothing. I just wanted to sit there in that mess. But that was the wrong thing to do, because that's, like they say, idle mind is the devil's playground. So that gave him the opportune time, you know, to come in there and wreak havoc on my life. But that's why it's so important to have people where you can call, like, hey, look, I'm in need, you know, because we can only do so much ourselves. So you got backup, more reinforcement to get that thing up off you. But yeah, Nate, I'm just glad to have had this time with you, man. You know, I always enjoy talking to you in passing, and I'm glad that, you know, we could really sit down and share, you know, our hearts with people, because that's the only thing that's really going to help is to other people to see that, you know, people have real issues. And we're tired of going to church and, you know, like Joyce Meyer said, this is the way we go to church, you know, and then you come out, like my mom used to always say, the same monkey that you was when you went in.
Okay.
So what's the use of going? If you haven't made the conscious decision to change.
Yeah. Well said.
But first of all, you got to recognize something is wrong that needs to be changed in order to seek change.
Yeah. It's true, man. No, I've always appreciated our conversations, and I appreciate you brought me on here to talk about some real issues.
Yeah, so we just pray that something was said that will help you, and to the next episode. Peace.